Today, I wanted to talk about how I changed over to a much more quiet phone lifestyle. If you are the proud owner of a smartphone, iPhone or otherwise, then you probably know about the onslaught of notifications that you get. And that was something that I changed in my life probably about the time that I moved out to the city. So probably 3-ish years ago. Something that I used to do, and most people do, is you leave most or all of your notifications on. And so maybe you get game updates, maybe you get obviously like texts and phone calls, like Facebook, Instagram, shopping deals, emails, all sorts of different things. Like ping, 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 ping all day long. For me, like most of what I was getting was not messages from people. It was like emails and Facebook and everything else. So one thing that I really noticed was that most of the time when I used to pick up my phone, it was not a social interaction with another human being. And it also wasn't things that I had purposely set to come up on the phone either, like reminders or calendar events or things like that where it's like functional for life. It was a lot of just trash and noise. It really started to get to me where I realized, and this was pre-screen time on iPhones too, so this was before you even got notices of how many times you pick up your phone, what you're doing with it, all of that. But I realized that every single opportunity where I could pick up my phone, I did, and there were a lot of times that my phone would ask to be picked up. It would have something come up on the screen and it would buzz or ding or whatever. And right away, I tried to combat that just by changing from a text tone or a ringtone to just vibrate only mode, which made some difference. It is a lot quieter, especially if you carry your phone in a bag or, a coat pocket that's not necessarily right up against you where you don't always feel it vibrate. Like that made a bit of a difference. But you still end up where you feel it, you hear it, it's interrupting your life. So about 3 years ago, what I did was I turned off the notifications for literally everything except for reminders, which was, like I said, just stuff that I'd set for myself, text messages, and phone calls. I turned off all of my social media notifications. I turned off all of the badge icons. So even once I was on my phone, I couldn't see what was updating and what needed attention or wanted attention. I just turned all of that off. And it is liberating because I'm not gonna lie and say I don't pick up my phone constantly. I do. I probably have just as embarrassing of a screen time write-up or report or whatever as most people. Like, I'm not gonna lie and be like, I'm holier than thou. But it is so much easier to be in the moment with events, with people. Like, how many times do you go out to dinner and you and or the person you're with, you're just on your phone and it flashes and they pick it up, and like it's weird almost to set your phone down or leave it in your pocket for a whole meal and just talk to the person that you're with. And it's something that I would definitely encourage people trying. And now iPhones have even updated where they come with slightly better do not disturb settings. And I know on Android, like you can really nuance that. But at least on iPhone, you can set times of day that you can't be contacted. And that's really great too, because nothing sucks more than when you're starting to fall asleep and somebody freaking texts you and it's not that important. And, you know, like I said, you get notifications from this, that, and the other thing. This will turn it off for that too. And it is fan-freaking-tastic. And a lot of people have told me, oh, I couldn't do that because, you know, I have a custody thing with my kids. I got to make sure I can get phone calls or, you know, doctor's calls, or I need to make sure if my boss calls me, I can answer it. And like I have to get calls from my boss too, sometimes at the horrible hour of like 5 or 6 a.m. because I'm one of the people that calls in our closing codes and stuff. And you can set it up so that you have a favorites list so that their phone calls and texts always come through regardless of the other settings on the phone. And I always tell people, in the event of an emergency on iPhones, if somebody calls you twice in 2 minutes, it will automatically push that call through, assuming it's really, really urgent. So there are workarounds, and, you know, iPhone's not necessarily the most ideal. I know that you have more nuanced control on Android for setting a lot of these things, but we're reaching a point where people are really coming around to not having their phones constantly interrupt their lives. And especially too, if your kids have phones, I would absolutely encourage you to turn off as much stuff as you can so that you don't get all these constant like dopamine hits or whatever's happening of, ooh, I got a like, I got a notification, I got a new follower. Like, you can look at the phone when you're ready to look at the phone. You can open those apps when you're ready to open those apps. And then all of those notifications are there. And it's almost more satisfying to see, instead of, oh, I got 1 follower at noon, 1 follower at 2, 1 follower at 3, to open your phone at like 6 o'clock and see all 3 of those followers at once, kind of just clustered together, or, you know, whatever's relevant to whatever app you're opening. But it's just easier. And then to once again tie this into the financial aspect of this channel, since that's supposed to be the point of this channel, nothing sucks more than having things constantly shout at you about everything being on sale, whether that's getting emails, whether that's getting text messages. Like, I love JCPenney's, don't get me wrong, but I don't need them texting me deals every single day. And if I do, then I can just put their notifications to no text tone, no ringtone, no vibrate. Like, they just show up, and then when I happen to look at my phone, that's when I see them. So it can also save you money, and honestly, you don't feel like you need this constant validation, or you're not looking, you know, always at the newest things, the best things, what other people have, FOMO, all of that stuff. And FOMO is fear of missing out for people that don't know that. But having your phone as quiet as possible, I realize is like a total old person throwback sort of thing of like, oh, you know, back in my day we didn't have phones. But like when I was a kid, we basically really didn't have phones. Cell phones were like kind of not really a thing. And it meant that your life was just what was around you in that moment. And I realize that kids nowadays, adults nowadays, human beings nowadays, we love having our little magic pocket squares connecting us with that outside world. But I think it's really valuable to try and meter that connection, and to try and experience boredom and experience other people and experience tiny joys that you might have missed just because you literally weren't looking and you were watching YouTube or something instead. Like I said, I am certainly not holier than thou. I spend an unhealthy amount of time on YouTube, but I don't get notifications to my phone, and it's amazing. And I would absolutely encourage other people to consider quieting their phones as well. So if you already do or want to get in on this quiet phone movement, then leave a comment below and let me know your thoughts, and I will see you guys in the next video.